What is going on, guys, and welcome to another video by Mr. Kai. And welcome back to my third episode of Fright Waves, a series of podcasts where I look at summer horror movies. Now, last week I looked at the movie Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and I do apologize for posting that a little late. But today, I will be looking at the John Carpenter movie, They Live. And also, Killer Clowns from Outer Space and They Live came out the same year, 1988. This movie is a corrupted government alien invasion movie, and I cannot wait to get into every detail with you. So let's get started on John Carpenter's They Live. The movie begins with the title card transitioning to a graffiti by the train station. We also get a little taste of this radical score by John Carpenter. We then get to meet our protagonist of the film, John Nada. John Nada is played by Rowdy Roddy Piper, a very well-known WWE wrestler at that time. John Nada is a struggling homeless man trying to find a job in a New York City setting. As we're getting familiar with the character, we get to see the New York City setting. John Nada tries to find a local job nearby, but finds out that there's nothing available for him. As John walks through the city some more, we get to meet a blind preacher warning everybody that there's a higher power controlling everything. John takes a minute to glance over at the priest, but then leaves once he sees the cops up to him. To John's luck, he ends up finding a construction site and gets a job there. We don't get too many scenes at the construction site, but at the construction site we get to meet the character Frank, played by Keith David. After a hard day's work, Frank offers to take John to a nearby homeless shelter. During the scenes of the homeless shelter, they use an actual homeless camp to shoot the scenes. Frank then introduces John to one of the people at the homeless shelter, Gilbert. He'll come in handy for the rest of the movie. Frank and John get to know each other a little bit more. During the afternoon, John takes a little tour of the homeless shelter, and he runs into some people watching TV. The TV station is then all of a sudden cut, and then there's a TV transmission message. The message is coming from a man saying that there's a higher power than us and that they've put us in a trance called sleep. This definitely weirds everybody out, but then the transmission is cut and everything is back to normal. The next morning, John follows Gilbert into a church because he saw them going in there the night before. When John gets into the church, he realizes the whole room is covered in boxes. He also finds a tape recorder full of singing, which leads him to wonder what they're actually doing in the basement. John just ends up leaving though. But during that night, we get one of the most brutal scenes in the movie, the police riot. The corrupted government and police is a huge plot point in this movie, and this scene just proves that. John tries to find as many people as he can and rallies them up overnight. John then the next morning goes back to the church and finds the boxes. He takes one of the boxes back to open it and see what it is. But when he opens it, he sees that it's only a box full of sunglasses. John is utterly confused, but he takes the pair anyway. John walks through the city with his new pair of sunglasses, but he notices something is off when he looks up at a billboard and all it says is obey. But when he takes off his sunglasses, it's just a normal billboard. He puts the sunglasses back on and there it is again. All it says is obey. John is alarmed and very confused of his discovery. He then notices the same thing is for every billboard. By now, John knows something is up. It is then that things get really messed up when John walks by a newspaper store and meets his first alien. Also, like the billboard, without the glasses they look like normal people. But with the glasses on you can really see what's there. And fun fact, all the aliens in this movie were played by one man. And that was the stunt coordinator of the film, Jeff Imada. So props for him pulling it off. Even as the alien goes away, John keeps looking at him in fear. But after he goes around the city some more, he realizes that the whole city is covered in aliens. John goes into a grocery store where even more aliens are. Even the TV man is an alien. He then tries to talk to one of the aliens by insulting them.
You know, you look like your head fell on the cheese dip back in 1957.
But that alien was smart enough to put two and two together and realize that he can see them.
I've got one that can see.
Then all the aliens stop what they were doing and put all their attention on John. And this obviously freaks John out.
I don't like this one bit. Not one bit.
John obviously didn't learn his lesson from 2 minutes ago because he goes out and pokes fun at another alien. But this time he gets pulled into the alley by the police. And the line that one of them say is more hilarious than threatening.
It would be easier if we don't have to splatter your brains.
John then proceeds to beat the crap out of both the cops. After he has both of them down, he steals one of their shotguns. John then runs into a bank and he gives one of the most infamous one-liners ever.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
This line was not in the script, Roddy Piper improvised it. He then proceeds to shoot down every single alien. We then get lesser known one-liners from him, but they're still pretty hilarious.
Mama don't like tattletales.
And who are you, little fella? Come to show him where I am. Not nice. Beat your feet.
By this point, every alien police officer is chasing him down, and John takes refuge in a woman's car. This woman's name is Holly. John then insists that he takes refuge in Holly's house. Holly does take John to her house, but literally 3 minutes into the conversation, she pushes him out the window, making him lose his glasses. Before John hid the box of sunglasses behind some garbage cans, and John barely gets there in time to save them from getting into the garbage truck. Before the garbage truck closes up, he receives 2 sunglasses. He then goes to find Frank at the construction site, and John puts his sunglasses on to check if Frank was an alien. So now John wants Frank to put on his sunglasses, and he was not. But Frank is unwillingly to do it. They then start this huge fight which lasts over 5 minutes. And it was planned. After going back and forth for over 5 minutes, Frank finally puts on the glasses. He now understands and knows what's going on and can see all the aliens. John and Frank end up booking into a hotel, where they started talking about where they came from. I like how this movie doesn't exactly tell us the origins of the aliens, they just kind of let us make it up for ourselves. But when John and Frank go out to the lobby again, they see Gilbert. And they find out there's a whole group of people who can see. Gilbert invites John and Frank to a meeting, and that night, Frank and John go to that meeting. There's a lady there that gives them contacts so they don't have to wear the sunglasses anymore, which is pretty clever. Because I guess if you wear the sunglasses too long, it gives you a headache or something. The meeting starts with them talking about how they can destroy the aliens, but Gilbert reminds them that it's not safe enough to fight against them yet. And during their meeting, someone interrupts it. And surprise, surprise, it's Holly. And when she goes up to John, she acts so fake.
I didn't know. I'm so sorry.
I mean, come on, you cannot tell me you would believe her. They also find out that the signal that's keeping the alien secret comes from the TV broadcast station. But John and Holly's conversation comes to an end when the police find their meeting and they shoot up the place. And the only people who escape are John, Frank, and Holly. And one of the alien transportation watches malfunctions, which leads them to a portal underground. And it basically leads them to an underground bunker. John and Frank walk into this big party full of aliens, but one of the party guests is a human. So that just kind of tells us that there's humans out there that want to help the aliens. But anyway, the guy thinks that John and Frank are one of the aliens. So he takes them on a tour of the bunker. And part of the bunker is a TV broadcast station, meaning the signal is coming from where they are. John and Frank end up putting the party guests at gunpoint, and the party guest tells them that the satellite is coming from the roof. As they're trying to get up to the roof, they coincidentally run into Holly. And surprise, surprise, Holly reveals herself right before they get up to the roof by killing Frank. She holds John at gunpoint. At this point, the whole roof is surrounded, and John gets shot down, but not before destroying the satellite. So now all the aliens aren't hidden anymore. I think it's a great way to end the movie, and the movie ends with John Carpenter poking fun at himself.
Filmmakers like George Romero and John Carpenter have to show some restraint.
And that is the whole movie of They Live. Here are some fun facts you maybe didn't know. First of all, the movie was inspired by a comic book series. Roddy Piper never heard of John Carpenter before meeting him. They used props from other movies. And finally, John Carpenter considers this movie a documentary about modern society. But I really appreciate you guys for checking out this week's podcast. Next week is 4th of July week, so I will be covering Return of the Living Dead. But until then, take care.